What's going on, Jerome's? So when the Minnesota Vikings drafted JJ McCarthy, number 10 overall, highest drafted quarterback in franchise history, you're thinking, okay, he's the future, but let's put a pin in it. Like, you don't have to see him his rookie season, and head coach Kevin O'Connell laid out a plan basically where it's like, hey, we're going to take our time, make sure we do this right. We see many quarterbacks drafted highly in the first round, tossed out there before they're ready, and it ruined their careers. They never had a chance. But the competition with JJ McCarthy and slinging Sam Darnold, it's heating up, man. And you can very easily say through 3 days, JJ McCarthy has looked like the more impressive quarterback. Now, yes, McCarthy has been playing against twos. Darnold's been playing against ones. But also, McCarthy is playing with twos, and Darnold is playing with the ones, including Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Christian Darrisaw, etc. So, I mean, a lot of it is very early, right? And it's tough to make declarative statements right now. But we said before the start of training camp that I thought that Darnold was like a 90-10 favorite to be starting week one. I may slide that closer to 60-40. I think that Ty will go to the veteran in this situation, but McCarthy may be so good that he just forces O'Connell's hand and is good to go. And it's through no fault of Darnold's doing. But McCarthy has been really impressive so far. Loose, confident, and basically bugging Justin Jefferson every single day. How do we get better? Blah, blah, blah. Our lockers next to each other. Let's do this. Right. And so obviously that is the future, but it might be a case of the future is now, man. Also, McCarthy, like, it wouldn't shock me at all if he practices his press conferences. It really wouldn't. Or if he took a number of speech classes at Michigan, because he's very well spoken. He's very polished. And that is important, like the PR, media, all that stuff, connecting with the fans. And also, as the quarterback, you are a leader. You are the face of the franchise. So when you're able to articulate, what's going on, and you're just very impressive, I mean, that does say a lot. Also speaks to confidence, and players will follow confidence. Leadership, confidence is inspired in leadership. The whole thing, right? And McCarthy, you can tell, like, he's a football junkie too. Like, he's having fun, and like, there's players that play the game for the money. There's a lot of them, but there's a lot of players who play the game to be great. And Justin Jefferson is the latter. Also, I think JJ McCarthy is one of those too. Maybe it's a JJ thing. Where's Deshaun Jones? He should be in there too. But long story longer, first practice, fans there Saturday, back together weekend or whatever. But McCarthy, he put on a show. Like, he had the round of applause, like standing ovation when he came onto the practice field, put on a show in red zone, had a great touchdown to Jalen Naylor in 7-on-7. And, Naylor even put out on Instagram, ball placement don't get any better than that. And it was a dot in the back left corner of the end zone. Hey, remember when they said that McCarthy couldn't throw left? Like he's Mitchell Trubisky Ponder. Will Raggett Sports Illustrated had a great write-up of how McCarthy and Darnold has shaped up so far. It's still early in camp, so you try not to read too much into it, but Darnold had a fairly shaky day. He threw an incomplete hospital ball to Justin Jefferson early in practice. No. Meaning he would have led Jefferson into a big hit if it were a game. No. I mean, it's like Josh Dobbs and the Raiders game last year. He literally put Justin Jefferson in the hospital. It was in the documentary, too. In the red zone period, he stared down Johnny Munt and threw an interception directly to Harrison Smith in the end zone. Maybe that's just Harrison Smith being so damn good. Yeah. And Darnold should have had a second pick that was dropped by safety Theo Jackson. Theo did get a pick off of JJ McCarthy, is what it is. To be fair, the veteran also had his fair share of completions and good throws, including his daily deep ball highlighted when he hit Jordan Addison on a bomb down the sideline towards the end of the day. And Darnold's had like one great bomb pass every single day. One to Jefferson, two to Addison. McCarthy was cooking in the red zone period. He went 4 for 5 in that setting with touchdown passes to Naylor, Lucky Jackson, and Trey Knox. The fourth completion was a dump off to Kinkene and Nwangu that may or may not have resulted in a score if tackling weren't in play. The lone incompletion was a ball that was too hot and a bit too high for Sammy Reyes. Overall, McCarthy looked smooth, decisive, and accurate during the red zone work. And that's basically how he's looked all training camp so far. And like we said, yes, McCarthy with the 2s, Darnold with the 1s. Now, it could be a completely different ball game if the roles were switched. Maybe Darnold would just feast on the 2s, and McCarthy would struggle at times against the 1s. But also, you're playing with 2s, playing with 1s, etc. And also, Flores is not making it easy on any of these quarterbacks, man. He is bringing like exotic heat, and I love it. I love it, man. But McCarthy, he's confident, he's loose, the moment's not too big, and we said like a lot of rookie quarterbacks can come in, and though they play big time college ball, like they're intimidated. And I think McCarthy, every single home game, playing in front of 100,000 at the Big House at Michigan, playing for the national title, being in the college football playoffs 2 years in a row, I think that experience really helps him. Where it's like, okay, I played in front of larger crowds, like no muss, no fuss. We're just getting paid a lot more here. Also, in and out of the huddle quickly. So that's an underrated aspect too, because not only are play calls, especially in the red zone, a lot more wordy and complicated than in college. I mean, it does benefit that McCarthy came from a pro-style offense with Harbaugh, but it was still like it was not as intricate as most NFL systems, right? And also, it does give him a huge advantage from quarterbacks that come from, like spread or air raid offenses where it's like, hey, what's your best play? 4, all verts. Or they just read like one of those cards from the sidelines. Although I kind of feel bad because now they have helmet communicators with the sidelines. So now like the days of those placards are gone. Where, man? But getting in and out of the huddle. So not only getting the play call, spitting out the play call to the huddle, breaking the huddle, getting lined up at the line of scrimmage, making your checks and doing all that stuff. A lot of times you see young quarterbacks struggle, and then the play clock goes off, delay of game, and you're done. And also, hell, veterans struggle with this too. Like, how many times over the last 2 years has Kirk Cousins and the offense been slow to get out of the huddle and get a delay game? Frequently. Well, not like every single play, but more. It's often enough that you notice it, and that's not good. Also, not awkward, if that makes sense, where he looks like he was born to play quarterback, where you don't always see that. Where, I mean, a lot of times, especially in a new scheme, especially when they've tweaked your mechanics, it can look a little bit awkward as you're learning on the job. But his footwork has been on point, especially his feet under center. Whether it's play action, whether it's a 3, 5, 7-step drop, has looked very pretty, right? And yeah, in a game situation, when there's live tackling and whatnot, you do have to be able to throw off platform. That's a big skill, but having this rock bottom muscle memory, good mechanics, where you're constantly throwing from base, where you're constantly properly transferring your weight, where you're properly getting proper torque on the ball and a proper touch, like. That's going to matter. It's going to matter when things really start flying. Also, quick and powerful release. And that's the thing, too. Like, young quarterbacks, like, sometimes they get the deer in headlights. Sometimes they'll be staring at the rush. Sometimes, they'll pump, they'll bring it down. They'll try and do this, do that. They'll force it. But McCarthy, like, he lets it rip. Like, he makes the read. He's very quick at scanning through his progression as well. And he lets it fly. And he can threaten every blade of grass. And the lazy take on McCarthy is like, oh, it's just a noodle arm Christian Ponder 2.0. Nonsense. Like, yeah, he didn't have to throw 40, 50 times a game like some of these other quarterbacks in the draft because of the Michigan running game was so damn good, and that's the style of play that Harbaugh wanted to play. Also, the fact that they were so dominant, they weren't really in close games, right? But to say that McCarthy didn't have a hose for an arm, that's just lazy. That's just lazy, man. But just a flick of the wrist. And it's like that Naylor touchdown where it was such a where'd that go? There. Where it was such an easy flick of the wrist and the back corner of the end zone only where, and hell, I mean, Booth Jr. gets a lot of crap, but that was good coverage on that play. But the spot where only Naylor can get it, it was gorgeous, man. It reminded me of the Big Ben Santonio Holmes Super Bowl throw, the game winner against the Cardinals, except to the left corner versus the back right corner. It was great. It was great, man. And he's been consistently doing that over the first 3 days of training camp. Also, it does seem like Darnold is playing a little bit tight, a little bit playing not to lose. Like, yeah, he is the huge favorite to be quarterback 1, but also McCarthy's breathing down his neck. I think that I think that it's pretty significant that O'Connell basically had McCarthy only working with the threes and OTAs, and then all of a sudden you get to training camp, and all of a sudden McCarthy's working with the twos, a little bit with the ones. And all right, so it's Darnold, it's McCarthy, and then it's Mullins and Jaron Hall. Like, basically the other two quarterbacks aren't really getting much work, so they do want to get McCarthy as much work as possible. He's learning from his mistakes. He's busting his ass, and he's having fun out there. He's not taking the moment too seriously. Well, obviously it's a serious business, but he's not overthinking things. He's not tight. He's not awkward. He's just really getting after it, man. And like I said, to me, Darnold was a huge favorite coming into training camp. That could change. That certainly could change. It's sort of like the Matt Flynn, Russell Wilson situation in 2012, where the Seahawks paid a ton of money for Matt Flynn, who had like 2 good games with the Packers, to be their starting quarterback. But Russell Wilson, third-round pick out of NC State, I refuse to recognize his year at Wisconsin. Mercenary. But Russ was so damn impressive during the offseason training camp and preseason that Pete couldn't ignore him. And he started him over Matt Flynn, even though they had just paid Matt Flynn a buttload of money. I don't think that's outlandish to think that McCarthy could be your week 1 starter, especially if he keeps this up and Darnold continues to have high points, but a lot of lows as well. Just very uneven thus far. But like we said, it's very early. We'll see what happens with Brown's joint practices. We'll see what happens in the 3 preseason games. We'll see what happens at the night practice. Oh, people are going to love McCarthy at the night practice. Come on. Also, we'll see what happens. Obviously, no contact with quarterbacks, but it is a different ball game out there when you put the pads on for real. We'll see that tomorrow, Monday. So we'll see, man. But got to be impressed so far. Got to be really even if he doesn't start this year, maybe Darnold can hold him off. But you have to be fired up about the future, man. Like JJ McCarthy, he looks like a true blue pipe hitter, and I think that he has a chance to be very special in a very special offense in a great spot for a young quarterback. But your thoughts are thoughts. McCarthy been stunning so far. Darnold. Yeah, listener thoughts, our thoughts, comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.